everyone, and this is Ashmita from Saurav's classes. As you can see on your screen, this is the paper of ISS paper of 2022. We are going to solve one particular question in today's class, and if you have been following my classes, I have been solving all the questions over here one by one in a series of videos. So if you want to follow all the questions, you can just follow our channel. So in today's class, we are focusing on 2E. Now, as I told you, this is the 2022 paper of General Studies. All right, of ISS IES General Studies. So if you have the question paper, you can follow from there or you can follow from here also. So question number E focuses on what are the pros and cons of the infrastructural development in the coastal zone. So we need to talk about the pros, that means advantages, and the cons, that means drawbacks of infrastructural development in the coastal zones. Now, the question needs to be answered within 200 words. All right. You cannot exceed this limit. So here I would be focusing on certain points rather than on a big answer writing. So you can just learn and you can uh, just come to understand that what points you could have included, or you can also learn how to write these kind of answers, like what points you can include, what details you need to give regarding those points, and all the other details that is actually required for these kind of answer writing. So over here, you need to talk about the coastal regions first, like how is the life in the coastal regions. Coastal regions are areas that are home to a large and growing proportion of the world's population. You need to introduce your topic first. You cannot directly go over to the pros and cons. Okay, just talk about coastal areas first. These are undergoing environmental decline, okay, because of too much of like industrialization in the coastal regions. It is actually facing environmental decline. The problem is particularly acute in the developing countries. So more the countries developed, more problem is the coastal area experiencing. The combined effects of booming population growth and economic and technological development are threatening the ecosystems that provide these economic benefits. So all of these are actually contributing to a threat towards this coastal regions. Unless governments and users of coastal resources take action, population pressures and the associated levels of economic activity will further degrade many coastal habitats. So they are talking about, like, you need to mention about how these things are affecting the coastal areas, and then you can talk about the industrialization or the pros and cons of industrialization in the coastal regions. The challenge for policymakers and coastal resource managers is to figure out how to reap the economic benefits of coastal resources while preserving them for future generations. So you need to talk about infrastructural development also. Okay. Like how how infrastructural development is being done in the coastal areas. You need to talk about that also. Like question is all about infrastructural development in the coastal regions. So you need to focus more on infrastructural development in the coastal areas. You can give examples like what's going on in the coastal areas of the Western Ghats, the Eastern Ghats. You can talk about all those things. Now here you see, I have mentioned this point which I have been discussing in the previous page. That is, coastal development is defined as the human-induced change of the landscape within sight of the coastline. So within the sight of the coastline, whatever changes are being done by human beings, we can term that as coastal development or infrastructural development in the coastline. Now, this includes building structures that are on or near the coast in general for protection, for commerce, for communication, or for recreation. These structures support the economic and social activities that can contribute with positive or negative effects on the coastal environment. So these can have both pros as well as cons. Coastal areas are used for tourism, fishing industry. Now you can mention the usefulness of the coastal areas. Fishing industry, trade and transport. Various coastal management strategies are employed, each coming with a number of advantages and disadvantages. So we are slowly focusing on the pros and the cons. All right. Hard engineering options tend to be expensive and than the short-term options. They may also have a high impact on the landscape or environment and be unsustainable. Here, you can also mention about the different advantages of hard engineering as well as different advantages of soft engineering. So you can talk about that. Building a seawall, a wall which is built at the edge of the coastline. You can talk about these things. Okay, okay. So this has the advantage that it protects the base of the cliffs, land, and the buildings against erosion, can prevent coastal flooding in some areas. But what is its disadvantage? It's expensive to build. Curved sea walls reflect the energy of the waves back to the sea. This means that the waves remain powerful. Over time, the wall may begin to erode. The cost of maintenance is also high. So you see, there are pros as well as cons to this thing. Then you can talk about the other things that can be built on the coastal lines, which has advantages, but it also has disadvantages, like building groins. A wooden barrier which is built at right angles to the sea, it prevents the movement of the beach material along the coast by longshore drift. It allows the buildup of a beach. Beaches are natural defense against erosion and an attraction. Oh, leave this line. Let us consider till here. You can talk about this advantage, but along with it, you can also mention the disadvantage that it can be seen as unattractive and mostly it's costly to build and maintain. You can talk about rock armor or boulder barriers, which are the large boulders which are piled up on the beach. It helps in absorbing the energy of the waves. It allows the buildup of a beach. Okay, but once again, it can be expensive to obtain and transport. The boulders can be quite expensive. Transporting them can be quite expensive. Now, there are certain soft engineering options also that are less expensive than the hard engineering options. They are usually more long-term and sustainable with less impact on the environment. Like there are two types of soft engineering, like beach nourishment we have and managed retreat we have. Like this replaces the beach or the cliff material and has been removed by erosion or longshore drift. Then you can talk about the advantage. Here you see this point is all about advantage. Okay, like the main advantage is that beaches are natural defense against erosion and coastal flooding. Beaches also attract tourists. Next thing, it is relatively inexpensive option, but here you have the disadvantage point, but requires constant maintenance to replace the beach material as it is washed away. Okay, next you have managed retreat. Areas of the coast are allowed to erode and flood naturally. Usually, this will be areas considered to be of low value, these areas, like examples like places not being used for housing or farmland. Okay. Next advantage include the advantages are that it encourages the development of beaches. That's a natural defense and salt marshes, which are important for the environment and the cost is low. Then you have a managed retreat, which is a cheap option. But over here, people will need to be compensated for the loss of buildings and farmland. So this is another disadvantage. So the bracketed portion can be included in your disadvantaged portion here also and here also. Worldwide, 2.5 billion people, around 40% of the world's population, currently live within the 100 kilometers of the coast, adding increased pressure to the coastal ecosystems. So, overpopulation is a very big problem over here in the coastal areas. Coastal development linked to human settlements, industry, aquaculture, or infrastructure can cause severe impacts on the near shore ecosystems, particularly the coral reefs. Coastal development impacts may be direct, such as land filling, dredging, and coral and sand mining for construction, or indirect, such as increased runoff of sediment and pollutants. So these can be the disadvantages, the cons we can see. Okay. Yes, so that was the class for today, and you can include these kind of topics and points in your answers to make it more engaging to the reader, and this will fetch you good marks. If you have these kind of questions in your practice papers for the upcoming years, and if you want to practice these kind of questions, then you can join our classes for further discussions. For that, you just need to go over to the description box below this video. You will get it, and you will get the class like our website link, and you will also get the phone number details. There you can contact us and you can join our classes for any kind of exam preparation related to entrance based tests and competitive examinations, any kind. Okay, so yeah, that's it for today's class. If you want any kind of questions to be answered, you can post your queries down below in the comment box. We are there to help you out. That's it for today's class. We're going to meet once again in our next classes.